Welcome to SB&M is Here, the State Bar of New Mexico's official podcast. In this series, we'll discuss topics such as professional development, tools of the legal trade, and mental and professional well-being. Connecting the legal community across New Mexico, SB&M is here. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Season 3 of SB&M is Here. This is Morgan Pettit, Member Services Manager and Podcast Producer. We've been through a lot in our first 2 seasons. We've heard from our various practice groups and other organizations in the legal community. We've also heard from individuals of our own membership, but y'all haven't really heard from us, the State Bar. So here we are. See what I did there? Anyway, in this episode, we'll be covering 2 recent rule changes that have a direct impact on your membership. Those rules are Rule 24-102 and 16-119. I know rules may not be the most exciting thing to many of you, but we want to make sure you are informed on these changes. You can read about them on our website and in the bar bulletin, but for you audio learners out there, here is your episode to hear about the rules. We'll also be talking about our membership survey and how important it is for your voice to be heard, so please listen for that. And we'll also pepper in some other updates and things going on with the State Bar and our plans for 2022. So with that, Bill Slease interviews our Executive Director, Richard Spinello, and our General Counsel, Stormy Ralstin. Bill, feel free to take it away.
Thank you, Morgan, for that introduction, and thank you all for tuning in and listening today to our podcast. We're just thrilled to have some of the leaders of our bar with us today, the Executive Director, Richard Spinello, and our General Counsel, Stormy Ralstin. And want to talk about a few things, some updates to what's going on over at the State Bar. And Stormy, let's start with just a discussion about new rules that affect the way we register and renew our license as lawyers. You know, my memory from having done this for a few years is, you know, we've got one rule here and we've got one rule there and a deadline here and a deadline there. And I don't know what fees I owe and what do I have to certify, and holy moly, all the noise. So tell us what's happened to try to bring some organization to that chaos.
Yeah, well, that's a great way to describe it. That's exactly, I think, the state that the licensing rules have been in. They've sort of grown like Topsy. I don't know if there's anybody else out there old enough to remember that phrase, but just been added on to as new requirements have come up for licensing. A new rule was created, and then there was a new thing you had to do in order to renew your license. So we just got a new rule passed. It became effective December 31st, 2021. And the primary goal of that rule was to take all of those rules that had just come into being under separate rule sets and combine them under one umbrella rule. So 24-102 is the new umbrella rule for licensing. And it refers to other rules. There's more detail about the other rules that talk about the elements of licensing, but that is the umbrella rule where you can start and the whole process is defined there. And the other thing that we did at the same time was some of the elements of renewing your license had different deadlines. They had different late fee structures. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into the comparison of the old and the new rules. But we aligned all of that into one unified structure. So, you know, there's always been several steps to renewing your license. You always have had to complete a registration statement. There's been some, and the number has changed, but there are always required certifications that you have to do. We'll talk about those a little bit more. And then you have to pay your licensing fee, and you have to get your MCLE credits for the prior year. Now, all of that is described under 24-102.
Yeah, and one of the things you just mentioned, Stormy, was the certifications. I think most lawyers remember you've got to certify trust account or IOLTA compliance and professional liability insurance, but tell us, has there been confusion regarding certifications? What does the new rule really require in terms of certifications? And is there anything new?
So there is something new, and there has been confusion. I think when the new rule was posted for comment, we didn't get a lot of comments, but 75% of the comments we got were about the new certification, not about the actual new rule itself. So as you mentioned, for the last several years, there have been 3 required certifications. Every year, attorneys are required to certify whether they have professional liability insurance or not, and give an indication of the amount. Whether they have an IOLTA account or not, and if so, give some information about that account, and whether they've taken the basics of trust accounting course in the last 3 years. And then the other certification is whether they've done pro bono or not. It's not required to do pro bono, but whether they've done pro bono hours or made a pro bono donation. Those are the ones that I think most attorneys are used to seeing. They've been pretty standard for a few years. When we created the new rule, an additional certification was added for the succession planning rule. And just the certification is to certify that you're in compliance with the succession planning rule. And I don't think it's so much that people were confused about the certification. That certification does not go into effect in 2022. It goes into effect, the first time anyone will have to certify that is in 2023. And the rule says that, but I think there was some confusion about that. And I think there's been a little bit of confusion about the succession planning rule, and you're probably a better person to discuss that.
Yeah, we can definitely, I mean, I think the confusion came about, and as you said, the certification really won't be until the next licensing cycle, which is the end of 22 for the 2023 license. And the rule, of course, is 16-119, 16-119. That lives in the rules of professional conduct. It's what I call a minimum requirements for succession planning. It's now mandatory for attorneys. And what the court did, as I understand it, is they set the effective date at the end of 2021 or the beginning of 22, but not requiring lawyers to certify until the end of 2022, because what the court wants to see happen is in this next year, the state bar offer training to get lawyers up to speed and teach lawyers what that minimum succession planning should look like. And we've actually already done a class on the minimum requirements under the succession planning rule. We've got several classes coming up through the year. I suspect we'll probably do one at the State Bar Annual Convention annual meeting in August. And I've been fortunate so far that the Chief Disciplinary Counsel has presented with me at this so that she can explain to members that what we're looking for is a soft rollout and educate to compliance, and take that approach to this new rule. So the certification really is meant to be accomplished after lawyers have built the plan, and if they haven't got the plan quite built, to try to educate them further to get them up to speed and to that point. So that's my understanding of both the timing in terms of the rule and what the certification is required for. But tell us maybe a little bit more about what's changed regarding license renewal deadlines and late fees. How has that changed comparing the old rules to the new one?
Okay, so in the previous rule or set of rules, paying your licensing fee, doing sort of the first 3 things that we discussed that are required to renew your license, doing your registration statement, your certifications, and paying your licensing fee, had one deadline. That was the 1st of February. And then it had a late fee structure that happened if you were late after that point. Completing your MCLE requirements had a completely different set of deadlines. You had to complete those by December 31st. And then it had its own fee structure for late fees. Under the new rule, everything required to do your license renewal is due February 1st. So the nice thing about that is that attorneys get an extra 30 days to get their 2021 MCLE requirements met. Where it used to be required by December 31st at midnight, it's now required by February 1st. And all of the other licensing renewal requirements are still required by February 1st. Under the old rule, the late fee penalty could be as much as $450, depending on what things you were late and how late you were. There was a very complicated late fee structure. Under the new rule, there's one late fee. It's $275. It goes into effect if you haven't completed your requirements by February 1st, then you will incur that late fee. But what that late fee does is buy the attorney 90 extra days. It buys them all the way until the end of April to comply with whatever element or elements of the renewal process they have not yet complied with. So it's, I think it gives a little bit more room. I think attorneys around the holidays it's a really hard time to get CLEs, to make extra time. Attorneys are always busy, but then you layer the holidays on top of it and it's sort of a perfect storm. So I think giving that extra 30 days in January, 31 days in January really will make a difference to people. And hopefully everybody will get to enjoy their holidays a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think it's a little bit more ability for lawyers to make sure they know where they stand with terms of their CLE. And at least my experience, a lot of lawyers, it sort of suddenly creeps up on them and they don't realize how close they are to the end of the year needing those additional CLEs. And that extra time gives them the ability to make sure they get caught up. But two things, I guess. One, if lawyers are not exactly sure about what the rule specifically provides, how can they find the text and the language? And second, maybe you and or Richard could talk about the fact that the State Bar now has an association management system website and a new website that really is designed in part to help attorneys comply with the new rules. If you can talk about that, I think that might be helpful to the members.
Sure. Well, let me first say that I'm really excited. The new rule set, because 24102 is the umbrella rule, but it does reference a lot of other rules, and those rules have also had changes in them. So all of those are now published on OneSource. So attorneys can find, OneSource is wonderful. I mean, it really is an up-to-date. As soon as the rule is published, as soon as the rule goes into effect, it's published on OneSource. There's also a lot of information about the new rule and compliance in general on the State Bar's website. And people can always email us at contactus@sbnm.org. So that's how they can find out about more information about the rule. Regarding the new website, Richard, do you want to talk about that, or you want?
Sure, I can. We've been rolling out the website throughout this year. It was a multi-year process to get that underway. And one of the features that we wanted to provide attorneys was a dashboard, sort of a one-stop shop, a place that you could go to get all the information that you need about your licensing and other information about the State Bar that's relevant to you, the committees that you're on, the sections that you belong to. So we have the dashboard, it's up and running. Once you log into the website, you can click on your name and the dashboard will come up. And we'll have all of that information in one space. And so we're still tweaking the dashboard. We're hoping to make additional improvements as the members use it. They're providing feedback to us. We're going to put even more relevant information on there. But right now, you can go in and access your licensing status. You can look at your MCLE transcripts. You can see a list of courses that you've taken, both in by chronologically, and then just a list of those courses. So we really try to make the dashboard user-friendly and give you all the relevant information that you need regarding your interactions with the State Bar and your licensing.
Yeah, and I will tell you, it's at least by my assessment, very intuitive when you get to that dashboard. And really the hardest part is you've got to change your password when you first sign in the first time. And it's not really any more difficult than that. And then you've got that access to your registration form, your certifications, to online payments, can track your MCLE. It's really one-stop shopping. So I think it's well designed, and and useful. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, I encourage you to go to the State Bar website and look for your member dashboard.
I just also wanted to say regarding how it plays with the new rule, for the first time through this member dashboard, I mean, attorneys have always been able to renew their license online, but this is a really integrated way of doing it. So if you go to your dashboard and click on license renewal, the button only shows if you haven't renewed your license. Click on that button. You will get a form that's pre-populated with the information that you've entered in the past. And that's been one of the things that we've struggled to provide to members in the past, is pre-populating their prior information. They had to fill out the form from scratch every time. So, and it's a very easy process. It allows you to do the registration form, the certifications, then you can pay your licensing fee either with a credit card, or you can print an invoice and mail that in with a check, or print an invoice and give that to your accounting department if you're part of a government agency or a larger firm. So it really is fully integrated online license renewal at this point, and we're really pleased with that.
Yeah, and I know a lot of hard work went into getting that rule assembled and to the court, and Stormy and her team, Richard and the entire State Bar staff that worked on it, really deserve a pat on the back and applause for getting that together. Let's switch gears for a minute, Richard, and talk about what the 2022 is going to look like. And let's start with what I've been hearing about, which is a membership survey. What's going on with that?
A survey? Who wants to take surveys?
Everybody loves surveys, right?
Well, yes, we're going to be instituting or we're currently working on a survey, a membership survey that will go out to the members, hopefully in early April. We always want to be, with the work that we do at the State Bar, we always want to be responsive. We want it to be relevant to the members. And in my estimation, that means that we need to be listening to our members. And we have several ways of listening to the members. We have a representative board from throughout the state who are in contact with their constituents. We have hundreds of members who join sections and committees, who provide feedback. Members attend the CLEs that are put on by the Bar Foundation and the events that we do. They call us, they send emails. We have a steady stream of feedback coming into the bar, but we haven't done a general survey out to the membership in several years. And so I understand that you get a lot of surveys, and the State Bar has sent out several surveys, mostly specific surveys for specific areas or surveys that we're sending out on behalf of third parties. But this is the first general survey that we're sending out on our own behalf in many years. And we have three goals that we want to accomplish. We want to get some interesting information from the members that the members themselves might feel is helpful and informative. We want to look at how the organization is doing in relation to our current strategic plan. And we're coming to the end of a 3-year strategic plan this year. And we're going to be doing some strategic planning in May of this year for the next 2 to 3 years. And we want to get some basic information from the membership that will help inform the strategic planning that will take place later in the year. So those are the 3 main goals that we've established for ourselves in this survey. And that's why one of the reasons why it's important that the members take some time and fill it out when they get it. In addition to those goals, we've been asked by the court to ask a few questions regarding practice post-pandemic. Specifically in the area of in-person versus virtual hearings. They're getting a lot of feedback from judges about which hearings need to be in person and which ones can be and continue to be virtual. They want to hear from the membership. And so there will be a series of questions that once we get that data, we will provide back to the Supreme Court that they'll use in their future planning. So it's another important aspect of this survey.
Yeah, when can the members expect to see that survey, do you think, Richard?
We're in the process of building the survey right now, and we're hoping to send it out in the first couple weeks of April, so that we can get the data back and crunched and in a useful form for strategic planning that's the board's going to be taking place at the end of May. So we're on a tight deadline to get it written, to get it reviewed, to get it approved, and get it out to the membership. And the membership will have about 2 to 3 weeks to respond, and then we'll be working with the data and publishing the results sometime later in the year.
And it really is a great way for the members to have their voices heard individually and collectively. So I definitely encourage you all, when you get that, take those few minutes to complete the survey. It really will not be onerous or burdensome, and it really will give us some insight into what's on your mind, especially as the 2022 unfolds and the years progress. You mentioned, Richard, the court asking questions about what post-pandemic life is going to look like in terms of hearings. And of course, that raises the specter of the pandemic, and 2020, 2021, and even early 2022, certainly a challenging time for all lawyers, and no different for those of us at the state bar. But one of the things that changed during the pandemic was the assignment of Board of Bar Commissioners. Can you tell us a little bit about that and why that's important?
Yeah, the board went through an exercise. We've always been looking at the way the composition of the Board of Bar Commissioners and how the representatives were allocated to the areas of the state. They didn't follow the judicial districts, which was the big change. Basically, we went through a rule change that now assigns a commissioner to each of the judicial districts. So in a previous distribution of bar commissioners across the state was confusing. The commissioner districts themselves didn't match judicial districts. There were parts of judicial districts that were in different commissioner districts, and nobody knew what a commissioner district was or who their representative was. So we really wanted to tie the representation and the commissioner to the judicial districts in order to make it easier for the members to know who their representatives are, and the ability to reach out to them and contact them and interact with their commissioners. So that was the basic reasoning behind it. Now there is one or more commissioners associated with each of the judicial districts. All attorneys, you know which judicial district you work in, you know which judicial districts that you live in, and now you know that there's a commissioner, one or more commissioners assigned to that judicial district. In addition, the board created a new commissioner to represent the interests of the over 2,000 members of our bar who live outside the state of New Mexico. So there is a New Mexico attorney who is assigned to represent the interests of the out-of-state members and will be sitting on the commission. And that's brand new for the first time, and so that will help inform the board and give a different perspective to the work that they do. You can see that new alignment on the website under our governance tab. We've established a map that will show you the judicial districts and which commissioners are assigned to which district. So if you're looking for your district, the contact information is there. We'll also later this year be coming out with a handout that will give you put names to faces, give you an indication of the contact information that you would need to reach out to that commissioner on any issue.
Yeah, and that's just one of the few things that the State Bar has done in the last 3 years. Of course, selfishly, I'm excited about and proud of the professional development program that has been put into place, and I'm fortunate to be the director of that program. We still are developing the resources to support best practices for lawyers. I encourage you to check out that tab on the State Bar's website. There's some good forms, some self-assessments that you can take online, and other resource links that you can reach. And of course, Richard and I did a podcast towards the end of 2021 that elaborated on that program. And another thing I think that we're certainly excited about at the State Bar is a program that we've had for a while, but looks like we're planning on some changes, and that's the Bridge the Gap program, that program that is designed to bridge the gap between law school for those new incoming lawyers and their actual practice of law. And Stormy, what kind of changes are we talking about?
Well, the Bridge the Gap program is one that we try to look at regularly to make sure that it stays relevant and that we improve its relevance to new attorneys. Law school teaches students a lot about the law, the theory of the law and the rules and those sorts of things, but it doesn't do as much, and I understand this may be changing a bit, to teach new attorneys or the law students about the actual practice of law. And so, as you said, that's what the Bridge the Gap program is trying to do. That first year of practice, or the first few years of practice, can be pretty daunting to new attorneys coming out of law school and hitting what is actually included in practice for the first time. And so the program, just to tell you a little bit about the program, not everybody knows about it, is it tries to ease that transition by pairing new attorneys with an experienced attorney mentor, providing CLEs that are specifically relevant to the first year of practice, because those can be kind of hard to find sometimes. CLEs tend to be talking to practitioners that have been in the field for a long time and talking about changes that are in the field, and not so much geared toward that first year or two of practice and helping attorneys get through that. And then introducing the new attorneys to the services that are available from the bar and that the bar provides to assist them with their first year practice, such as the PDP program that you talked about, the ethics helpline. There's a variety of those things. But to answer your specific question about what are we changing, that's what the program does now, and it will continue to do all of those things. We're just changing the method or the delivery mechanisms. And some of the things that we're exploring are we're looking at different types of mentoring, where being paired one-on-one with an experienced mentor can be really useful. And I know some extraordinary relationships have been built between the mentor and mentees, and sometimes that happens. But there are other ways that mentoring can really be effective too. And one of those is a mentoring circle, where you work both with it's a circle that has multiple mentees and multiple experienced attorney mentors. And the mentees then can rely on each other, their peers, for how to get through those first couple of years or that first year, and work with multiple mentors. And other states have tried that. It's been really successful. And we're excited. We've got a couple of pilot projects going right now. We're really excited about what that could bring to the mentorship program. And then we're also going to change up some of the traditional CLE parts of the program. We're going to offer, right now, here is the day-long course that you need to go through in order to get meet your CLE requirements of the Bridge the Gap program. We're going to make it more of a selection. So here are the categories of CLE that we want you to take that we think will be useful to you. And here's a list of the CLE programs that you can choose from for fulfilling that particular requirement, just to make it more flexible. The same type of thing, I think we all know this, the same way of saying something or the same particular take on a topic doesn't work for everyone. And so we just want to add to the flexibility and try to make it a better program for the people that go through it.
So for our newer members to the bar, or if somebody really wants to be a mentor, who should they reach out to, Stormy?
So they can reach out to me or to Kate Kennedy, who is the staff member that's in charge of the Bridge the Gap program. Also, though, on their attorney dashboard off of the website, there is a link that just says become a mentor, and that'll take you right to the application, which explains everything that the criteria that you have to meet in order to be considered to be an approved mentor. And there's an application that you can complete right online, and it will come directly to us. So we are always looking for new mentors. We have quite a few at this point, but mentors come in, they work with one attorney because they knew that attorney, and then they may or may not want to continue. So we have a great need for mentors, and anybody that would like to get involved, we'd love to have you. And if you have questions, please feel free to call me.
Yeah, and I will say that I've talked to several people who have served as mentors in the past, and to a person, they have always said that it's been one of the highlights of their career, and sort of refreshed and rejuvenated sometimes in terms of their perspective on what it's like when you're first starting out to practice law, and the ability to reach back and help up those who are on their way up. Last thing, who knows what 2022 will hold, Richard, but for now, annual meeting, what's that about? Are we having one? Is it in person? When is it?
Yeah, we're excited to be planning annual meeting. Of course, the last two annual meetings that we have been planning have been disrupted in various ways. Currently, we are scheduled to be at the Tamaya August 11th through the 13th. And we do have a really good plan for a series of tracks that we're going to be doing, so that attorneys in specific areas will be able to get several substantive courses in line. We're hoping for a professional development track that I know you are working on, Bill. We're working with a couple of the sections, the cannabis section, to update us on all of the new things that are going on in New Mexico with cannabis law. So there will be a track regarding that. The public law section is going to be holding their institute during the annual meeting. So we'll have a series of programs on that. We'll have several presentations on equity and justice, and then a whole series of substantive law updates. So we're excited about the program. Of course, we will continue to monitor the COVID situation and adjust accordingly. But at this point, we're hoping to have a really great in-person event in August.
Yeah, my fingers are crossed that we can do it in person. I will tell you, it's a great opportunity to network with your fellow attorneys and legal professionals. I know many legal assistants and paralegals. We've got a paralegal division. They attend the annual meeting as well. So it's a great opportunity to meet those folks, to meet other lawyers, reconnect with other lawyers, especially after the last 2 years, and to get to know your state bar staff and know who we are and what we are doing and what we're doing on your behalf. So I really appreciate, Richard, you and Stormy letting me toss questions at you, and I think there's some great information. I know everybody at the state bar, I've been there now a year, is just wonderful folks who are more than approachable and really dedicated to the members of this profession and those licensed here in New Mexico. I encourage all of you to reach out. And with that, I thank both of you, and thanks to the State Bar staff for doing the heavy lifting on making these podcasts happen. And thank all of you for your participation and for listening in today.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you for listening. This episode was produced by the State Bar of New Mexico's Member Services Department. All editing and sound mixing was done by Blue Sky eLearn. Intro music is by Kevin McLeod at Incomtech. The views of the presenters are that of their own, are not endorsed by the State Bar of New Mexico. Nothing said in this podcast was legal advice for you.